Hey folks, I'm back at you with some more chair reviews. Now, if you didn't catch my video a couple weeks back on the Dometic Go folding chairs that I'm going to try to use with my Overlander off-road trailer project, definitely check that video out. But I was so impressed with the build quality of those Dometic folding chairs that I decided to give these larger chairs out here. These are the Quattro Milano, kind of a fancy name. And I plan to use these with my fifth wheel over there. You know, these chairs are really more about comfort, not so much about space saving and folding down into a compact size. And I'll show you, of course, what that looks like here in just a minute. But I have used these zero gravity chairs over here probably for the last, 5, 6, 7 years. I think I bought these at Costco, actually. I don't know that they're branded really. They're pretty generic, run-of-the-mill zero gravity chairs, and I've really enjoyed these a lot and have used them pretty much with every RV that I've owned, I think almost since day one. My only complaint about these zero gravity chairs has to do with the reclining mechanism. And basically when you want to recline, you always have to have your feet up. You can't have your feet up and not recline, or vice versa. You know, everything's linked together. And that's great because that's what makes them zero gravity chairs. They're very comfortable and they kind of put you in that zero gravity position. But a lot of times I find myself sitting in these chairs working on my laptop. I want to have my feet up, but I don't want to be reclining. Otherwise my neck is at, such a sharp angle looking at the computer screen. And so that's really my main complaint with these zero gravity chairs. Otherwise I like them a lot. But like I said, I was so impressed with those Dometic Go chairs that I reviewed previously that I decided to give these a shot. And so in today's video, I'm going to give you kind of a comparison coming from an owner perspective that's used these zero gravity chairs for quite some time, how these Dometic, and again the model is the Quattro Milano reclining relaxer. This is the ocean color, but kind of how these stack up against one another. So first up, you'll notice size wise they're almost identical between the zero gravity chair and the Dometic Quattro Milano. If you look at the backs there, they go up about the same height on both of them. They're about the same width across there, same width across on the seating surface. You can see the armrests are virtually the same length there, a little bit wider over here on the front, but really, I mean, from a seating perspective, they're almost the same. Then as far as the material goes, the fabric on both of the chairs, over here on the zero gravity chairs, we've got this, what I'd call more of a mesh. It's woven. You've seen this material before, but it's got a little bit of stretch to it. And of course it's stretching on the sides here with the bungees. But this is just a single layer. You can almost see through it. So I mean, it's very breathable as far as keeping you cool. Whereas over here on the Quattro Milano chairs, I would consider this more of a fabric. I mean, it is woven, it is some kind of mesh, but you can't see through it. And that's because there is a pretty thick pad inside of here, actually. I would guess probably slightly over 1 inch thick. And so that's one major difference between these two chairs, is this has some different padding and then some different stitching to separate the padding there. And it goes all the way up even into the back. So you've got that same, maybe it gets a little thicker here on the back, in fact, but you've got padding basically going all the way up. So two different fabrics between the chairs. And again, guys, these are initial impressions. I mean, this material here is probably going to be more breathable and keep you a little bit cooler. It'll be interesting to see over time, what my impressions are with this setup with the padding. Sometimes that makes things a little bit hotter in the sun, but I'm just not sure. So we'll have to see. You'll notice both of them have pillows at the top, and they're very similar, just kind of a Velcro tie around the back, about the same size. I mean, you can put this up here, you can put it down there on your lumbar area, really wherever you want. Like I pointed out earlier, the chair arms are pretty much the same. They're both kind of a plastic resin material. This one has more of a matte finish. This one is more textured on the zero gravity, but about the same length there, and I would say they're equally comfortable. And believe it or not, the Quattro Milano chairs over here actually do recline. At a first quick glance, they look like a kind of a conventional old school chair design that wouldn't recline, but they actually do recline, as you can see there, although a little bit differently than the zero gravity chairs over here. So I'm sure you're all familiar with these, but I'll just demonstrate. You've got the chair in the upright position, and if I just tilt back, of course, the feet come up as well. And so that motion is all connected here on the zero gravity chair. And of course, that's why it gets its name zero gravity, because it's putting you in a position where your body just doesn't feel the normal effects of gravity. Over here though, on the Quattro Milano, you can see it does recline, but the footrest is independent. And so this does not move in the same motion with the back there reclining. And so that is one major difference here on the Quattro Milano chairs from Dometic. In fact, the footrest doesn't come standard with the chairs. You have to buy this as an add-on. And you can see it's real simple. It just clips on to that bottom rung right there, 2 little clip points, and then it just has a folding leg. But the height of that footrest is pretty much fixed. In fact, let's see, maybe it kind of clicks into this position, so maybe you can go down just a little bit lower. I'm not sure if that's intended or not, but it seems like this is probably the position that it's meant to be used in. And so that footrest is fixed. Whereas over here on the zero gravity chair, the footrest is connected to the rest of the chair and it follows the motion as you recline forward and backward there. And so in my opinion, that is the single biggest difference between the conventional zero gravity chair and the Dometic Quattro Milano chairs, is the way the footrest integrates into the chair. And I think it really comes down to personal preference. You know, do you prefer the footrest, first of all, to be all one piece with the chair so that you're not having to bring out a second piece? And secondly, do you prefer that when you recline, you always want your feet to go up versus when you're not reclined, you always want your feet to go down? Whereas over here on the Quattro Milano, the footrest is pretty much always going to be static when it's attached to the chair. So you can see what it looks like. I think I'm in the furthest reclined position here. And then if I go up, you just basically lift up on the back of the chair and you can kind of hear those arms clicking. Whereas now I'm in the more upright position, but you can see the footrest hasn't changed. So really you've got to decide, do you want your feet up only when you're in the reclined position here and down when you're in the upright position? Or do you always want your feet up when the footrest is attached over here on the Quattro Milano? You can see I'm in the upright position, whereas over here I'm in the reclined position. And then secondly, do you want the option to remove the footrest and not always have it installed and still be able to recline your chair without your feet going up? You know, in some ways I would compare this to more of a traditional lounge chair experience that you might have at the pool, where from the waist down it's going to be horizontal pretty much, and then you choose the angle on the recline. Whereas over here on the zero gravity chair, it's just a whole different experience with that zero gravity sensation. Now, as far as the dimensions go, they are both very similar. So I'm not going to give you the full dimensions over here on the zero gravity, but I will do so on the Quattro Milano. So let's start first on the width. So between the side supports there, you're looking at 20.5 inches. The actual seating surface itself is closer to 18.5 inches. Then the depth of the seating surface, I'm just going to go to the intersection of the back here. You're looking right at about 17.5 inches deep there. The arms are approximately 18.5 inches long there, and you know, about a little over 2 inches wide there at the widest part. And then the back here, I'm going to stretch my tape measure out a little bit. And again, I'm just going to where it intersects on the bottom. So you can see it goes all the way up the fabric about 28 inches, and then the aluminum goes up closer to 30 inches. Of course, you can adjust that pillow wherever you want. The back is going to be a similar width there, the fabric right at about 19 inches, of course, across. And then let me give you the footrest dimensions as well. So first I'll just give you from the fabric here to where it ends. And so this is about 23 inches, but then all the way down to the bar, it's right at about 29. So overall, if you're trying to get a measurement from where the back intersects to the bottom, to the base, all the way down to the feet, let me make sure that's lined up. We're looking right at about almost 4 feet even right there. So that kind of gives you an idea of how they compare. And then height-wise, this chair sits at about, I'd say about 18.5, 19 inches off of the ground. But now let me actually demonstrate them so you can kind of see what they look like when you're sitting in them. I'm 6'3", a little over 200 pounds. And so let's try out this Quattro Milano chair first. I gotta say, I feel the padding on the cushion, both on my legs, on my back. The height is perfect there. This pillow is nice and adjustable. This feels very comfortable, and I like the rounded kind of matte texture on these armrests. They could be a little bit longer. You can see my arms hang off a little bit, but really they're very comfortable. I feel very supportive. In fact, my lumbar down here feels really good actually. so they got that right. And then as far as reclining, you just pick up on the arms, and they've got little notches, so I can choose how far I want to recline back. And I gotta say, this is really nice. I mean, it's a different experience than the zero gravity chairs, but this feels very comfortable, even all the way back. Now I'll demonstrate the same on the zero gravity chairs. And if you've never experienced these, that zero gravity sensation, it's hard to describe, but it is very comfortable, I will say. I've got the chair all the way in the back position, and it looks to me like the angle's about the same between these two chairs. And this is very comfortable. I mean, you just feel like you're suspended, kind of floating in the air, the way it tilts you back here and supports everything. Now again, I am 6'3", and you'll notice that on my legs down here, they are a little bit short on the footrest. And so I can either prop my legs up here, which over time, it's not real comfortable on the back of my ankles right there. So that is one downside about the zero gravity chairs. You can get longer ones, of course, for bigger people, but I've just kind of stuck with these over the years. So that is one downside. The other complaint I have is, like I said, sometimes I'm sitting here. I find myself most of the time, I think, in this kind of mid position on the zero gravity chairs. And of course, you can lock them down so they don't move. But I'll be working on my laptop here, and I find that my neck ends up being in that kind of forward posture position where it gets kinked, because I want my feet up a little bit, but I don't want to be reclining quite that far. And so that's really, again, the big difference. You know, do you always want to have your feet reclining while you're in that reclined position on your back, or do you want to be reclined on your back but still have your feet up like this? You know, I'm really torn here between the comfort in the reclined position between the two chairs. I feel very supported here on the Quattro Milano. It's just a different feeling, and I don't know if it's just because it's a new chair, and you know, sometimes when something's new it just feels more comfortable, but I gotta say I really feel supported here, and it's just a different sensation compared to the zero gravity chairs. But I think my favorite thing about these Quattro Milano chairs is that the legs are independent of the back there, because this is probably how I'm going to be using a lot, where I'm typing away on a laptop, and I like that I'm not in that forward posture position because I can recline the back separately. And I also like that the footrest is a lot longer on these Quattro Milanos. I mean, I think you could probably be, maybe 6'5", 6'6" to get to the bottom of that footrest. So that's a big advantage as well. Well, last, let me show you what the teardown process looks like on both of them and kind of give you a comparison, you know, when they're all folded up. So over here on the Quattro Milano, of course, it is a two-piece design. So you just lift up on the footrest, and this is all aluminum, by the way. I don't know if I mentioned that. So that's one really big difference. When you pick this stuff up, it is very lightweight. You're gonna notice that right away. Then as far as folding them up, these are relatively new to me, but what I found is if you put your foot on the back support bar and then lift up here, that seems to be the best process to fold these up. So pretty straightforward there. You can see they're nice and slim, but let's do the same thing over here on the zero gravity chairs and compare size-wise what they look like. So over here, I just put my foot on the back and then pull up on the arms there, and they collapse. So let's put them side by side and see what they look like. So I mean, obviously with the foot rest being integrated on the zero gravity chair, they're a little bit thicker over here, but I mean ever so slightly. You can see a little bit slimmer profile. And I noticed that right away when I stored these in my basement storage in the fifth wheel, that these took up less space. You know, they were narrower when the two were put together compared to the zero gravity chairs, but you do have that footrest to deal with, which by the time you add that in fact, let me grab that. You can kind of see you're going to be at the same point. In fact, you'll probably be a little bit thicker just because of the contour and design there with the footrest. So I don't think there's really any advantage space-wise with either of them. They take up about the same space. But I will say, if weight is a concern, I mean, these are a huge difference. I would say even with the footrest factored in, I would say this feels maybe 20% heavier over here on the zero gravity. I mean, that's just very subjective, I realize. But I mean, I can really feel the difference between the aluminum and the steel. Which, speaking of aluminum, of course, it's not going to rust. But to be fair, on these traditional zero gravity chairs, you know, these are pretty old, 5, 6, 7 years old. I don't see any rust on the actual frame itself. These are steel that are, painted. I do, however, see a little bit of rust on some of the fasteners, some of the hardware there. This is probably just run-of-the-mill zinc. Whereas over here, the fasteners, I could be mistaken, but they look like they're either stainless steel or some kind of marine grade. And so hopefully these should hold up real nicely. I mean, I typically take my chairs out of the rain anyway to keep them looking good, but that is another difference between the two. And of course, these are branded by Dometic. I'm not sure if they actually make these or if a third party does it and they just put their brand on them. But I will say they do have a 3-year warranty, which is pretty impressive compared to a standard 1 year. And speaking of Dometic, when I first heard Dometic was getting into camping furniture, and I talked about this in my other review I did on the camping, the Go series of folding chairs. But when I think of Dometic, I think of things like awnings, toilets, fans, different components that go into your RV. In fact, I've got some Dometic components there on my Pinnacle. And not that they're not high quality, but I mean, they're just kind of more generic. I mean, they're used in entry-level travel trailers all the way up to, high-end 6-figure Class A coaches. And so when I heard they were getting into camping furniture, I really wasn't sure what to expect. But my initial impressions are they seem to be going after a higher quality, more refined feel. And I think that really carries through again on these Quattro Milano folding chairs. I get the same vibe as I got from the Camping Go series. They just seem to be a really well-made, well thought out product overall. Well, anyways, those are my initial impressions on the Dometic Quattro Milano Reclining Relaxer. Kind of a mouthful, but no, seriously, I really have been impressed with these chairs so far. In fact, I plan to use these as my primary camping chairs in place of the zero gravity chairs. And so if you're watching this, months down the road, definitely check in with me and ask me how I'm liking these chairs still. But I think for me, I just prefer to be able to adjust the recline separate from the footrest. And maybe sometimes I don't even need the footrest. So I think these are gonna work out just fine. Now, I will include affiliate links in the description below if you're interested in buying these chairs, which, by the way, they come in a number of different colors. This is the ocean color here. So I appreciate you using those affiliate links to support the channel. If you got any questions, definitely drop me a comment below. And as always, thanks for watching.